gentlemen, good day, Algebra. Warning for you. Thank you. We are continuing PO18, going over function notation. We got through about half the page on the first day. We talked about the purpose of function notation. It tells us the equation is a function. And so, for example, on the corner plane here, where we see g of x equals 2x minus 3. This is the same thing as if it were to say y equals 2x minus 3, right? That g of x or f of x or h of x or whatever it is, all it really tells us is that this equation is a function, and instead of writing y equals, we put g of x equals, okay? It's the y variable, but it tells us that it is a function. So then we looked at, for the f of x graph, meaning we look at the f of x relation here, which is the parabola. What is the y value in x is negative 2. So we looked at the x value of negative 2. We looked at where our parabola intersects the x value of negative 2, and it happens all the way up at positive 5. And so we had 5 as our answer. Okay? Yeah.
What if it was, so for the f of x one,
Yeah.
if it was negative 2 on the y line, which one would it be? Would it go left or right?
You're asking if we asked you to solve for x when y is negative 2? Yes, you need them both. Okay? Because which is okay, because they're different x values with the same y. Remember, that's still a function. 2 different people have the same birthday. That's fine. Okay, it's still a function. If this parabola was like this, right, where we could put a vertical line through and it touches it in 2 different places, that's not a function. Okay, so it's okay for there to be 2 different x's with the same y. That's still functionable. Anyway, then we looked at, for the f of x graph again, what is the x value when y is negative 4? So I picked this one specifically because there is only one x for it, right? We look at negative 4 on the y-axis. Since that's the value that we're given, we're told y equals negative 4. And we are solving for x, which ended up being the vertex of the parabola, and we got positive 1. Okay? So function notation, it's going to ask you to do 2 things, basically. It's going to give you one of the variables and ask you to find the other one. When it gives you the x variable, it looks like this, finding f of something. Okay, it's almost like they've taken the x in f of x and replaced it with a number that it wants you to put into the equation to solve for y. Right? It's giving you the x value. And that's where we left off on Monday, where we were working through this situation here. Okay? Find f of 2 when f of x equals 5x minus 4 means that x equals 2, and it wants you to solve for y. Okay? Then we practiced a couple of them here. We said use f of x equals x squared minus 5, find f of 4, right? So we have f of x, which I'm going to replace with y just for simplicity's sake here. Y equals x squared minus 5. We plug in 4. Someone said that was 8. I cried a little bit, but really it's 16. And we got y equals 11, right? And then it said write the ordered pair, and we said the ordered pair was 4, 11, because when the x value was 4, the y value was 11. Okay, Paul.
So you said like those things like y of x, that all means y, right?
Yes. You would never use y of x because that would just get way too confusing. Typically, f of x is the most commonly used one, then g of x, then h of x. But it really could be anything.
So when it says find f of 2, that means x equals 2.
Yes. It's giving you the x value. It wants you to plug into the equation
Oh, all right, that makes
to
sense.
solve for y.
How do you know if it's
Brielle, Will, stop.
x equals y?
So it depends on how it's written, right? If it says find f of something, it's giving you the x variable to plug in and solve for y. if it's giving you the y variable, it'll say this. Find x when, what variable does that represent? F of x is really just a fancy way to write y. It'll say find x when y equals 9. Or find x when f of x equals 9. Because we know that this f of x is really just the y variable, in our heads we can think about this as find x when y equals 9. Okay, at the very least, notice how it says find x here. If it wants you to find x, which variable did it give you? Because I asked. Which variable did it give you? Right. Okay. So it comes down to, Nathan, how the question's worded. And that's why it's important to understand kind of what these pieces are. F of a number means you're plugging that number in for x to solve for y. Find x when f of x equals something means it's giving you the y variable so you can find x. You can solve for x. Okay? What part of that is confusing?
I still can't. So like, find what is this? Find x. Why?
If you are asked to find x, then the only other variable in the equation is y. If you're asked to find x, that means they gave you y. They're not going to ask you to find x and then give you x. That's not finding it. That's giving it to you. Right? The variable they're asking you to find is the one that you don't know. That's why I have to find it. Okay? So the value that they provide you has to be the y variable to allow you to find or solve for x. Okay? All right, maybe with a little bit of practice. Let's. I don't think we did any of the g of x or the g of whatever here. So g of 6. This is your x variable, right? They're giving you x here, and the other part of that function notation is used to label equations, label graphs, or whatever. G of 6 corresponds with the g of x equation, right? We're using this one here to plug in 6 for x to find y. So y equals 12x plus 10. So then it would be 12 times 6 plus 10, or 72 plus 10, or 82. Right? And the ordered pair that provides us, with the x value of 6, the y value is 82. G of 0, Nathan, which variable are you being given? The x variable. Okay? It's almost like they've replaced x with 0, which is what they want you to do in the equation. So y equals 12 times 0 plus 10. Or y equals 0 plus 10, because anything times 0 is 0. Or y equals 10. Okay? The ordered pair is x of 0, y of 10. Okay? Do the last one on your own. Very similar to the others as far as what's being given, what you're looking for. Yes. You missed the homework check, so you have to go back in tonight and do that. Actually, Nick, you'll be excused from it because you weren't here for the lesson for when we went over it. So, what'd you come up with? Who's bold, brave, Cole? Folks, I called on Cole and only Cole. Go ahead.
-8, -96.
Okay. So,
yeah, my bad. I forgot to do that.
I did my math wrong too, so whoopsie-doo for the both of us. We are kind of short on time, so we'll bypass the whoopsie-doo song today. But
No.
3, 2, 1, you are quiet. And then the order pair, when x is -8, y is -86. Okay? In all of these examples, okay, whenever they are giving you the x variable, it's going to look like this. F of something, g of something. Nathan? No, the equation will be provided for you. Okay? The equation will be provided for you. Then the other type of question you'll be answering looks like this. For f of x equals 2x plus 1, which remember is just a fancy way to write for y equals 2x plus 1, but it tells us it's a function. It says find x when y equals 9. Okay? What this type of wording tells you to do is it's giving you the y variable, y equals 9. It wants you to solve for x. Okay? It has to give you one of them, and you solve for the other. This is what it looks like when it's giving you y, and it helps because it literally says find x. Okay? It's not going to, like I said, it's not going to ask you to find x and then give you x, right? It's going to give you y. So for f of x equals 6x plus 8 and g of x equals -10x plus 18, find x when y equals 62 is what this is saying. So 62 equals 6x plus 8, right?
How do we know that? X is 9 because it says that.
Hold on, let Nathan ask the question. Go ahead. Not f times 9. This whole thing, Nathan, is the variable y. Okay? Sorry, what? This is different than what we have here. This is showing you what the wording's going to look like. And then we switch to different equations for the practice part. We're done with this up here now. Okay? That's just what it's going to look like wording wise. Okay? So before we solve this one, let's just go to the next one. Okay? It tells us that f of x equals 2. What variable does f of x represent? Because I asked, right? Y equals 2. In which equation are we plugging in 2 for y? The f of x equation, because that's what it tells us to do there, right? So we would rewrite f of x equals 6x plus 8, but we're plugging in 2 for f of x, and the equation we're solving is 2 equals 6x plus 8. We're finding x when the equation, the function, the y value equals 2. Eli. Same answer I gave you the last time on Monday. When you analyze data, when you're looking at any sort of graphable thing. Okay. So now solving these, going back to the first one, we're going to use opposite operations, subtract 8. 54 equals 6x, divide both sides by 6. 9 is equal to x. And what ordered pair did we just create or find with the first example here? We solved x to be 9. What ordered pair does that represent? Andrea? 962, right? We solved for x, and our y value was given to us, 62. Sam? Could be. Could be. The next one, subtract 8 from both sides again. We get -6 equals 6x. Divide both sides by 6. We get -1 equals x. What ordered pair does that represent? Izzy? Other way around. negative 1, 2. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. This time we're using g of x. And again, we're given the y variable in the g of x equation. So instead of g of x equals negative 10x plus 18, it's going to be negative 62 equals negative 10x plus 18, and you're going to solve for x. Okay? Save your question. I need to tell you what the homework is before we run out of time. Your homework is going to be the rest of PO18. Okay? You've got some graphs, some equations on the second page, as well as the rest of this. We will talk about it in more detail tomorrow. All right, Nick.
So like when you do negative 62 equals 10x plus 18, what does the equal sign mean?
It means that these two sides are the same. So you're solving for x like we did back in PO7. You have a two-step equation here. You would subtract 18 from both sides, divide by negative 10, get x by itself.
So you subtract 8 from negative 6.
Hey, Nathan, warning for you. I'm not done yet. You subtract 18 from both sides, opposite operations. So then you have negative 80 equals negative 10x. Then divide both sides by negative 10 to get x by itself. It's a pretty standard two-step equation. All right, folks, that's our math.